Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Veronica Nelson always feared ending up in prison. The tragic facts of her death in custody reveal why Veronica Nelson always feared ending up in prison. The family of Veronica Nelson have granted permission to use her image. She was worried about how prison staff would treat her, her partner Percy Lovett told a coronial inquest into her death this week. Heartbreaking moments from the final 2 days of Veronica's life may help us understand why. Like the moment prison officers came to her locked cell and offered her paracetamol and anti-nausea medication. A sign on the door read "Do not unlock," and so it remained closed to imprison the gravely ill 37-year-old woman inside. Instead, officers pushed the pills through a flap in the door. The inquest heard a nurse had to prise open Veronica's fingers to actually put the pills in her hand, because they were cramped into a claw. The increasingly urgent intercom calls Veronica made as a rare medical condition, and heroin withdrawal triggered vomiting and cramps also shed light on how she sought to get the help she needed and the response she received. Her cause of death was ruled to be complications from Wilkie Syndrome, which affects the small intestine, in the setting of withdrawal from chronic opiate use. To begin with, the Gunditjmara, Dja Dja Wurrung, Wiradjuri and Yorta Yorta woman's voice was calm and gentle. She used please multiple times as she asked for a drink to combat the dehydration brought on by sustained bouts of vomiting. Later, she asked for a blanket, but the prison officer who replied told her they'd have to check because, for reasons they didn't explain, we don't have the keys to open the door. She made another attempt to explain to the officers what was happening, telling them I need help. I am cramping something shocking, I need help, badly, badly. Hours later, Veronica was no longer making full sentences, the audio of the intercom calls distorted by her wails of pain. Veronica never screamed or asked for help from nobody unless she really needed it, Mr Lovett told the inquest. I think she would have been in a lot of pain to be crying out like that and thinking, why is no one helping? Veronica turned to drugs after loss of father. Veronica's mother, Aunty Donna Nelson, told the inquest her daughter had a special bond with her late father, who taught her about Aboriginal culture as a girl. Aunty Donna said his death in 2014 had been deeply painful for Veronica, who struggled to speak about sorry business, turning to drug use at times to deal with her trauma. In her final moments, Veronica was screaming out for her dad. When I read and heard that Veronica was crying out to her old man, that really got me, Mr Lovett told the inquest. Because I know how much pain Veronica would have been in, to cry out for her father the way she did. She loved her father very much, he was the best father that I have ever seen. The inquest heard in opening submissions that a nurse who inspected Veronica when she first arrived at the prison told the doctor she thought they should send Veronica to hospital. Veronica weighed just 33 kilograms, and the nurse noticed she needed to be physically supported to sit up in her chair, was frequently incoherent, and had low blood pressure and a low heart rate. But instead, Veronica was prescribed a rapid withdrawal pack of medication and put behind bars. Aboriginal incarceration triples in past decade for Australia's Indigenous communities. Stories like Veronica's are far too common. Counsel assisting the coroner, Sharon Lacy, told the hearing Veronica was one of 505 First Nations deaths in custody since the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody handed down its final report in 1991. And she noted several of the key recommendations made 3 decades ago may be relevant to Veronica's final 4 days. That the standard of health care in prisons be the same as that available to the general public and staff be trained to understand and appreciate the history of Aboriginal health issues, history and culture. That prison officers be trained to recognize when someone is at risk of death due to illness, injury or self-harm. That police officers use arrest as a last resort in dealing with offenders and that an entitlement to bail be recognized in practice. But on some measures, Victoria is going backwards in addressing the over-incarceration of Aboriginal people. The coroner heard the number of Indigenous people in Victorian prisons has nearly tripled in the past decade, representing 10% of the overall prison population, compared to 6% in 2010. And more Indigenous women are being held in prison on remand. They've not been found guilty or sentenced, but are waiting for their court matter to be heard. As of June last year, 61.4% of Aboriginal women in prison in Victoria were on remand, up from 25% in 2012. A broken